Greetings from Kansas City. This is Renee Benson at AV Renee KC, and you are listening to and watching the AV Life.
Hey, this is Nancy Blanchard from San Jose, California for Williams AV, and you are listening to and watching the AV Life.
Hey, James here, writer for the Higher Ed Digital Magazine, IT and AV column, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
And I'm your host, Tim Van Wert from Rutgers University here in the great state of New Jersey. And you are watching and listening to the AV Life. And I was coming up with some sort of great intro thing. And I was like, you know what? Let's just get this party started here today. We have two great guests and very long time members of the AV Life family. And we're just gonna get into it. We're gonna introduce them and then we'll get all in the conversation here. Ladies first, of course. The fabulous Gina Sansivero is with us tonight. Gina, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Tim. Thank you again for having me. I always have a great time with you.
Well, we obviously enjoy having you here because we keep having you back. So well, always a pleasure having you, Gina. How are things?
Things are great in this great state of New York. The Mets are in postseason. The Yankees are in postseason.
Yes, we are.
A great baseball team, like hug. I don't know. This is so bizarre. And there's a little bit of me that's saying, are we going to have a Subway series?
I will say,
Subway series.
Yeah, yes. I'm having flashbacks of 2000 all over again. Like, is this what's going to happen? Like, yeah, I don't know, because there's some tough competition from our West Coast folks out there.
The West Coast is not necessarily the best coast, but man, the Dodgers are the team to beat. So maybe we have somebody on this show that's going to show a little Dodger love.
Gina, you are rolling with what I'm going here. And as a segue, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Joe Saya Way. How are you, Joe?
107 wins. 107 wins, and the season's not over. It could be 108 right now. I haven't checked the scores or anything. I mean, it could be a record, right? I mean, it was already a record, but it could be beating your own record.
Joe, it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 6 o'clock in the evening out by you. So even if they had started,
but it could be a 110 game. We play afternoon games, so we do. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm Joe Way, and I am president of the Gina Sansivero fan club. And no, I have to say that because I mean, I can't believe I'm on a episode of the AV Live with my wife's favorite AV person on earth, and that's Gina. So like, and you know, there we go. I feel honored and everything.
Too.
Oh my gosh, it was, you know, and we're talking world traveling today, and that was where they met across the world. So yes, I feel honored to be. I'm glad you put me as a guest, even though I don't think I embarrassed myself the last time I was on the show, and I don't think I deserve to be put from crew to guest. But if I'm going to be a guest, I want it to be with Gina.
So there you go. I did you a favor by making you a guest then. So, you know, then, you know, next time you're on, whenever that might be, you know, I'll put you back in the crew position. Maybe Gina won't be here for that episode. We'll see. So, and now our PM miniaturist has just arrived, knocking on the door. Murphy Daly. How are you, Murphy?
Hey guys.
Yeah, we are we are recording here, and you were doing the right thing. You were doing your health checks and everything like that. The teeth health checks.
Yep. The dentist always trying to get the teenagers to get braces. We'll see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, everyone's like, "Ooh."
Been there, done that.
Yeah, same here. This smile didn't come by itself, so it's like.
Well,
welcome.
Yes, welcome to the show. Wow, we got a full house here today. This is great, you know. So almost full house.
We don't have all 9 squares of the Brady Bunch.
Yes, I know. Right now, Renee would be Alice for me. She's in the center square. So That's what we need. We need a Hollywood Squares like episode or something like that.
Get
I have to
everybody-
figure out how we can make that
Yeah.
happen.
That sounds like so much fun.
So
I think we can do
yeah,
it.
High five, high five.
high five. Circle takes the
and
square.
then you sell sponsorship to the center square.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
I
Ooh,
like that.
Wow. Wow.
All right, we'll have
Yeah.
to.
I
we'll put
went
that
there.
on.
Yeah, I went there.
Yeah, you did. Sponsorships are open for the AV life, by the way. So if you are interested in having your voice heard from your company and reaching out to our lovely fan base, both in higher ed and other various verticals, reach out to us at higheredav.com.
Well done.
Wow.
Well
I
done.
learned from the best. I got all the selfless promo people on this call right now. The Joe being the president, also of that and the Gina Sansivero fan club, and then Murphy and James, like they just know how to push it. So
Well,
yeah.
speaking of shameless self-promotion, I am working on the read through, the first
Ooh.
book block read through, because this is, having written a few books before, I know I get to a certain point and then I have to read it all to make sure that I didn't miss any spots. And then I have to write the beginning and the end, because I can't do it until the whole thing's done.
Mm.
So I'm like, ooh, I've
Are
arrived.
you writing a new book? I feel so behind right now.
Oh, well, I am sorry.
See, you should be on the show more often, or
I-
maybe you
I
should.
really
You're
should.
not listening. You're not listening to
I
the show.
am-
That's the thing.
I am finishing the audio video project management handbook.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
I
good.
love that idea.
Yeah, and it is super basic, super in the trenches information, like how to write an agenda, how to handle a change order, what to do on the first day of the installation.
that's
that.
great, Murphy.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
that is really good.
yeah.
I was literally just
Love it.
talking about that with a bunch of women yesterday, like how we needed something like that to show like there are stepping stones to get into our industry, and that should be one of the basics for another next step in integration, because how important it is to know not that you have to manage it the whole way through, but every step of the way, like what
Yeah.
people are going through. Establish empathy. Holy cow, that is so amazing.
Right. Yeah. So I'm excited about it. Maybe I'll give you guys an early copy so you can blurb it. We'll see. We'll
Oh,
see.
definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Whew, it's been
Yeah,
a
we'll be
crazy year.
We'll be a test audience. That would be
Okay,
great. Yeah.
and you can all rave with me. But to bring us back to the moment of now, my PM minute. It's getting to be. Are you guys getting the Halloween decorations up? My neighborhood is starting to get those, and one of the popular Halloween decorations is the feet of the witch feet coming through a tree, right?
Oh,
So here's
yeah.
like the tree, and there'll be witch feet as if the tree, the witch has flown her broomstick into a tree. So yeah, when you're in the middle of a lot of trees, you got to pay attention to the trees. But right this minute, I am interested in talking about how to manage a whole portfolio of projects. So you have to pay attention to the forest too. And the forest has a lot to do with paying attention to how you handle projects as a whole, not the specific tree of a project, because there'll be a lot of details, but paying attention to, am I doing the upkeep that you have to do for all projects properly? Am I managing the team with empathy, Gina? Am I managing how you do this? And pay attention to how the quality of the project work, not the project itself. So having that perspective is also important and easily forgotten in the crisis. And there's always a crisis of the projects.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well said, Murphy. That's yeah.
And you're right.
See
There
that?
is always a crisis.
There's
Mm.
always, there will always be a crisis. It will always
Yeah.
be with us.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
staying on target for the tree. Yeah, the tree and the forest, and I'm feeling very woodsy. This is great. I'm about to go away for the weekend into the
Are you?
woods. It's great. You know,
You-
this is
You know,
all
you know what comes from woods? Baseball bats, Dodgers
Yes.
wins.
yeah.
That's what comes from
Hey, that's
woods.
that's all right, Joe. Your Dodgers can have their wins right now,
And you know what the hard part is? I'm actually an Angels fan, but because I've now been to like 4 or 5 games of the Dodgers in the last 2 years,
Starting to convert.
and I hate every minute of it. But
uh,
I
you know
have a
what?
ton of respect for the Dodgers. Ton of respect for the
Mhm.
Dodgers. But you cannot be a front runner. You can't just choose to be on their bandwagon for the past 2 years.
No, but that's why I just said I'm an Angels fan. But when you go to games and you're sitting there in like the VIP suite right behind home plate, and they're like knocking off these home runs, you see it out there in the atmosphere, you're like, oh, damn it. I don't want to like them. I don't want to. I grew up right here, right next to, the California Angels, not the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. No, the California Angels. I was at Reggie Jackson's 500th home run game as a child. I was
Wow.
there. I remember that. And the ball came like right near us. And the guy who caught it, I understand my mother said he was quite cute because she tried to pick up on him. And so I'm not lying.
Sure.
And hey, what are you gonna do? I mean, it's not like you should be picking up on the person who hit the ball, not the one who
Come by
caught the ball.
shameless
But
self-promotion, honestly.
there you go. I know.
Yeah.
I guess it was inbred in me, right? But yes. But I'm gonna be. I've been to too many Dodgers games. I just wish some of my vendors would have some Angels tickets, and Angel suites. But
I wish
there's no suites at Angel Stadium. So what are you gonna do?
See, and I wish more of our vendors would reach out to me about Yankee games because I'm right here. I'll always go if there are ever tickets available. So I won't turn down a trip to the Bronx. So for a Yankee game, let me clarify that I don't just randomly go to the Bronx. Not that there's anything wrong with that borough, but
No, there's
No, there's
nothing wrong with the Bronx.
yeah, there's nothing
What do
wrong
you
with
have
the
against?
Bronx.
What
But
do you have against the Bronx, Tim?
nothing,
I mean,
absolutely nothing.
I mean, really, why are you a hater on the Bronx?
Wow.
Not
Why
hating
do
on
you
the
hate
Bronx.
every single person who lives in the Bronx? I don't get it, Tim.
Wow, that escalated quickly.
And this,
See, welcome to
this
see
is why we
that's
can't
Twitter.
have
That
nice
was Twitter
things.
in real life. That's
was
Twitter
right.
in real life, right
That's
there.
true. Yeah. Twitter and parent groups on Facebook. That's the same thing. And that's what that's one of the things I've learned as a a parent now, and like seeing things like that in the days now, this social media days. At least when I was younger, my parents would like have phone calls with other parents. That was about as far as the gossip went. Now you can virtually get lots of parents together, and that's a problem
yeah, big
because
problem.
there's no.
And now,
there's
and now
no-
that I think about it, Tim, if you hate the Bronx, you probably hate everything that starts with B's. It means you hate brides, bumblebees, Butterfingers,
Wow.
butter itself. Why do you hate butter? Really? Let's be honest, Tim. Why?
well, my
I don't get it.
cholesterol, I'll tell you that
Butter is
I should hate butter right now.
And you see how things escalate in this world.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, this is Twitter on the AV life in real life. So that's
AV
yes,
live,
you're
live action
absolutely
Twitter.
right. Yes. This is a nightmare, really. It is. Oh, and speaking of nightmares, wait a minute, hold on. Before we get into this nightmare, I knew I had something else I wanted to talk about today, and I've got a couple people from higher ed here. I need to rant for a quick second. Is it just me?
I know where you're going. Is this your message from
saw
earlier?
my yes. Is it me, or is it just faculty entitlement is like through the roof this semester? Like I've experienced more messages from faculty saying, you're stopping me from teaching. You need to do this. I need this. Like it's like, and it has to be done now. Like it's like, it feels like it's at an all-time high this semester. And I don't know if it's because some of them, this is their first semester back, if this is their first time teaching. I don't think it is for those though. So am I missing something? Is it happening elsewhere, or am I just happen to be catching the wave? Is it always like this? And after 11 and a half years of working in higher ed, this is the first time I'm actually, like, for some reason getting it.
All right. Well, James unmuted. So I feel like I'm going to let him go first if he has an opinion.
I always have an opinion. There's no one ever wants to listen to it. But
Yeah.
no, really, to tell you the truth, in my new role, I just think it's been so stress on the team prior to the AV team getting on board that everyone is just so grateful that there is an AV team. Like, I remember I started having my team do operation checks, and I sent an email out because we found something that was wrong. I was like, oh, hey, we found this wrong in an operation check. And all I got back was like, oh my God, you guys are doing an operation check? That is so great. Like, so right now I'm in the high end. So I don't have what Tim's has, but again, we have a very small sample.
Mhm.
Okay.
James, you're disappointing me. Supposed to come
Sorry,
on and
Joe.
rant.
That's
Go ahead. Go ahead, Murphy.
I was
no.
gonna say,
Nope.
Tim, if these people are kind of new and they've been used to doing the AV at home, maybe they are very comfortable with their home AV setup and don't like having to not have that immediate ability to mess with things.
Mhm.
You know, I wonder if that could be part of it. If they've been used to their own little laptop, their own webcam, their own whatever version of this they've got, their AirPods or whatever going on, and they're like, I can't believe I have to engage with a human being to get this done. Maybe.
That's I was trying to,
Yes.
like, maybe that's what it is that they've had so much control and just doing things their own way for the last 2 years that's what
So allow me to step onto my sandbox.
please,
for 1
please
second.
do.
Sandbox,
You're
you
still
mean
not good. You're
soapbox.
still not.
Yes,
Yeah, you need
my
something taller.
soapbox. No, I'll
You
get
need
the
me-
sandbox. I'll sink down. No, trust me, I
You-
always end up
actually-
sink down and get in the gutter at some point.
Yeah,
But
Joe, I'm actually gonna give you a step stool so you can get a little higher, because
all right, here we
you're
go.
still not gonna be tall enough.
Murphy was right in that. So here's the thing. Allow me to challenge you. We did not feel that. And the reason for that is because as we recognize that we sent people home for 2 years, they learned a new way of doing things. So when we knew they were coming back, we wanted to mirror what they had just got accustomed to into the classroom. So hence, like our touch panels, we started to mirror the Zoom interface so that it would be natural for them when they came in. And so it was more of a self-service model that they could then figure out rather than having to come back and then see, and try to figure out how things used to be, but then they're not the same because we just upgraded all the rooms. So we wanted to eliminate all that, right? And so we've actually seen the complete opposite. We saw where people were freaked out and scheduled all these one-on-ones, like, you got to be in my room on the first day of class. And then our students show up, they're like, oh yeah, no, we got it, you can leave. And where we didn't actually have to help them because we understood the work, their workflow that they had to be gone to, right?
Yeah.
So there we go. There's
I will say,
soapbox.
all right, and that's great, Joe. But and we do similar with our control panel. We try to make it as intuitive as possible, and it's never seems to be related with the user experience, like what they're doing in the classroom. It's when, like, for instance, there was a faculty member just today who brought in her own microphone, unplugged our lavalier mic, put hers in, and started experiencing feedback in the room. And then got mad because it wasn't working the way it was supposed to work, which she didn't tell us that she was bringing it in the first place. And then started making all these demands.
There's a
We are
parking
now,
fee if you bring in
now
your
we
own mic.
have, we have scheduled an assist.
course.
We offer these assists at the very beginning of the semester, just like you do. And some faculty take us up, most of them don't.
So my question
And
then would go to you: was
Mhm.
did this happen on the first day of classes, or was this after?
This was after.
So was there a bad experience that she may have had to make her think that she had to come in and change the system as it was? So for example, what we did after the first week of classes, we sent through the provost's office, not through our department, through the provost, so that they have to pay attention. How did your first week go? Did you have technical issues? Did you need other training? Please click, which then created a ticket so we could then reach out to them, right? And then that's when you found out the people who didn't have the best experience, but maybe didn't call and didn't want to say it, and they thought they could help it themselves.
That's a good idea, Joe. I like that. That's something that could be more proactive instead of now being reactive later on. Now, as far as I know, this is the first time that I don't believe she had a bad experience prior, based on the message. This came in after I left for the day today. So
Yeah, but they never tell
was
you if they have a
catching
bad
up.
experience. They just complain to their deans. They won't tell you.
There is that too. Yeah.
But that's a good AV
few of those.
nightmare. There you go.
Yes. And that's what, yeah. Those are the nightmares that keep us up at night a little bit. But yeah, so this is, as you're hearing, this is now the month of October, and on higherEdav.com, it is the month of AV nightmares, since we are leading into Halloween. So we are going to kind of, for a little bit, every episode where we'll talk a little bit about our AV nightmares, and we'll kind of tie it in for the month. And then at the end of the month, like we are now doing the AV Life lightning rounds. Came up with our friend Harry Mead last week for what we used to call the firing range, and will never be known as that again. We are still keeping the pew pew, so don't worry about that. The pew pew will still be here. We cannot let that go. But we're going to call it the lightning rounds. We're going to change the format a little bit too. So if you have not heard it yet, go back 1 week and go listen, or one episode, I should say, and take a listen. So I'm going to throw this out to my crew and guests here. That was my nightmare for today. I was getting frustrated today. I'm glad I'm with you guys now. So,
Today was definitely a frustrating day. I'll give you that.
Well, yeah, I saw your text message earlier, James.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a fun. I mean, my nightmare is trying to opening up a new building. So the month of October is when it's supposed to open. Well, more like end of month October. So like really on Halloween is when we're supposed to get the building type deal. So that's going to be my nightmare.
Oh, those last trying few weeks right before the building gets turned over. That takes me back 4 or 5 years ago when our new academic building was brought online. It's the one and only time I worked on Labor Day, was because they were trying to get a temporary occupancy certificate of occupancy for the building, because we were just finishing in time for classes to start on Tuesday. So that was fun. So I hope I hope you're at least in better shape than that, James.
No comment.
That
Okay.
answers that.
Yeah. Okay.
So have you ever been on the Facebook page? It's called AV Install Nightmares.
Oh yeah.
Some of those are pretty funny. If you ever like just need a good laugh, go to there's a Facebook page called, I can't remember the exact name, AV Nightmare Installs or Install Nightmares. And you'll see like projectors hung with like duct tape and 2x4s, and it's pretty funny. Different kind of a nightmare, but sometimes I walk into some schools in southern Missouri and Kansas, and it's like, oh, what did you do there?
So one,
Well,
this wasn't an AV. It was in an AV room, and it was a, oh my goodness, those movable walls. And it was a big room that had quadrant, 2 movable walls, right? And that was all set to go. We were going to go in there, and by the time, as often happens with AV, the AV comes in after the construction is done, and it came to our attention that the designs we originally had weren't going to work because it was no longer a quadrant, because the quadrant that they had created didn't have a way for the people in the back to get out. There was no, they hadn't figured out that the door to the rest of the building was at, one section of the quadrant. And so it became one large and 2 small rooms with the movable wall had a door to get out, one kind of man door in the movable wall. Like, that's a big change. So we had to redo the design to the AV after we got on site. We're like, oh.
Ooh.
So like, I wonder who saw this initially and who didn't see it initially.
Missing those conflicts. I'll tell you, so we just did an entire video with 3 of our salespeople, because one of our salespeople happened to share a funny story on one of the sales calls. And I was like, God, this is amazing. So we did a funny little montage of AV fails. And the one that I remember the most, which was so funny, was that our tech support team was called because a house of worship that we had done, our integrator partner had done installation in with our product, called us and said, your speakers are faulty. We're like, oh gosh, what's going on? Like, is something wrong? And they're like, every time we start services, we hear Rush Limbaugh. It's like, what the heck is going on? Turns out that they had kind of flipped an installation issue, and they were pulling in Rush Limbaugh's radio show over their loudspeakers whenever they started their service. Clearly not a loudspeaker issue per se, right? So yeah, these AV fails were hysterical. I mean, it's embarrassing for those who are involved with it, but God, they're so entertaining.
Yeah. I was gonna say, there's a urban legend from NJIT from back in the day, and I actually think there's some truth to it, but apparently they intentionally tapped into the rail lines with the radio station on campus and broadcast down in Florida. And they got their FCC license taken away because they did that, and you're not supposed to do things like that. But go figure, a bunch of engineers tried to figure out how to broadcast their signal, 2,000 miles away.
Like, we can, let's try it.
We can do it.
Way to go, team.
Yeah, exactly. Why you have to like honor that,
Oh yeah, I do that.
You give props to that.
Yeah, it's been 25 years since I've been in college, so it's like, yeah, okay, so that sticks with me. I was like, I remember that. I'm proud of it, but at the same time, it's like, Jesus, guys, like,
yeah. Pretty
You
funny.
can do it, but you can't let people know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got caught, and then then you lose your license. Like, that's what did Aladdin say?
You're until somebody gets an eye out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
you're
then
only in
it's just
trouble.
fun.
You're only in trouble. You're only in trouble if you get caught. So, all right. So what other nightmares do we have out there? I like that one, Gina, by the way. That was a good one. I think we need your crew on here to share some of those.
Man, and I have the most charismatic sales guys. So I have one who's just this happy smiley face. His name is Bob. And then I have one who's like deadpan. Everything is hysterical that he says, but he delivers it completely like deadpan. And then I have one who's just he's this big man who's like, he should be a bouncer at a club, but the way he delivers things is just always with a smile on his face, like always kind of like you don't know if to take him seriously or not, because you're like, are you joking me, or is that certainly serious? So you have these three guys on our video who's just delivering things differently. All of them are absolute truths, but it's just really entertaining. So yeah, Tim, I'll send you the video. It's absolutely hysterical. But some of these things are impressive. And I remember touring a campus in Boston, and they had just opened this really, really, really big, new, beautiful STEM building. And I was like, God, this is so beautiful. Like, you must be so proud of it. And he goes, no, really not proud of it. In fact, we have about 15 rooms that aren't even open for students yet. And this was like weeks after classes started. And I go, why? And he goes, well, let me show you. And we walk in, and there's a room, and he goes, what's wrong with this room? And we look around, and there's a projector mounted right behind a light fixture. No way of using that projector. It's right behind a drop light fixture. And he's like, they installed it like that because
this is how CTS certifications prove their value.
They said, we installed it like that because that's what the drawing said. And if we go against the drawings,
It's true.
then
Yes.
we get in trouble. So it
Yeah,
wasn't a
100%.
CTS issue. It wasn't a training issue. It was the drawings told us to do it. And if we go against the drawings, we get in trouble. And
And
so
that's-
that's where those conflicts come in, and catching those conflicts in advance. But yeah, I mean,
well, you
And
know
I've
what,
had,
though? And some of that though, you don't know until you're on site, though, right? I can
Yeah.
imagine, how many times, especially if you're talking about a new build, like a
Yes.
whole, you're
Yes.
not looking at that level of detail every day, because you've got 400 pages of junk in front of you, right? And
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, the
Yeah.
mechanicals might be on another set, and your AV's on a different set, and they don't always show across one another. So sometimes there is something in the field, but that's the whole thing, is the people who are in the field or either need somebody. I mean, I get, if the tech in the field needs to do what his job is, and that is follow the drawings as they are. But there needs to, that you still have to have somebody else, a project manager or someone who's in scope of that, to come in and go, something doesn't look right here,
Yeah.
before things get hung. When you're
Mhm.
still have,
Yeah.
the rough-ins and stuff, to go, yeah, this might
Right.
not work out right.
But that doesn't excuse renovations, though, because I've had project designers who have not done site visits and have gone just off of floor plans and have screwed us over, for lack of a better
Oh
term,
yeah.
because
Oh no,
So-
you definitely.
Well,
If you're doing a
there's no
reno,
excuse.
you have to come in. You have
Right,
to.
there's no
because
there's
how
no
many-
excuse for that. Yeah.
So
I'll tell
my
you though,
thing is,
oh, sorry, James, go ahead, honey.
that's it. I really have to, I have to disagree with Joe here.
What do you mute him?
Now, yes, he's right. That is the, but my thing is, if I'm a tech, yes, I'm following the drawings. But if I'm told to install a projector and I know it's not going to work, I should be bringing that up. I should not be blindly following drawings when I know something will not work.
But if
And
you're
that's
a-
where
Sure.
I think
if
we are
you're a
failing
tech though, and you've been
big time
jaded,
in the tech field.
no, but if you're a tech and you've been jaded, like essentially your boss has yelled at you for being proactive or being a little bit too creative in how you do installations, and you come into a project, you're like, at some point you're just like, I don't get paid enough for
No,
this, right?
No, first of all,
Oh,
mm-mm.
Yeah, that's a good.
and
Yeah. 100%.
It happens.
I
I'm
totally
not
agree.
saying
That's a
it's
bigger
right, but
systemic-
it happens.
There should
That's
be
a
a
bigger
lead person on the site that they double check with. And if that lead person reaches out, and there should be a trail, they should know, like, hey, we're installing this, here's a problem, here's a photo, and someone replies, says do it anyway, then they're covered. But that conversation should happen, and the chain of communication should be set up for the job so that people know who to talk to when this sort of thing comes up. But clearly that wasn't happening
100%.
there.
Yep, 100%.
And in like a new build, this is where a really good consultant, the consultants that are doing the design work in a new building, I've had
Yep.
walkthroughs where you go in and you're like, wow, this is a beautiful new building. Let's do this. Let's walk through. Let's go through. Every classroom has this big, beautiful fluorescent light right by where they want the projector to be hung. Well, what consultants spec that in to look like that in every single classroom is somebody who didn't have a ton of AV experience that just kind of did the design on it, right? So then that school had
The
to
problem with that, because
figure it out.
I fight this all the time in higher ed, is architects love their pendant lighting. They think it's the coolest thing in the
Yep.
world, and it's not. And it gets in the way of all the ceiling stuff. You get in the way of sensors, you get in the way of sprinklers, you get in the way of projectors. Like, stop doing pendant lighting. They're not good in higher ed. Plain and
What
simple.
I
Or at
mean,
least
Well,
not in
then why not-
classroom
then
spaces.
What about pendant speakers? So you getting rid of those too? Because there's a lot of companies that make really
Yes.
nice pendant speakers.
Kind of like Atlas IEP.
Well, the pendants, yes. The pendant speakers have their place. But if you're going to a standard classroom that has an 8-foot, 9-foot ceiling, drop ceiling, you do not need pendant lighting or pendant
All right.
speakers.
Have you ever actually seen a pendant lighting in an 8-foot ceiling?
Yes.
I was just
Really?
saying. I
I
was
mean,
say, I hope
maybe
not.
unless it was the formal dining, it was the dining room of the president before it was a classroom. But no one's going to
No.
really design that.
Hey,
Yeah,
man.
by the same
Actually,
logic, you
All right.
wouldn't.
dealt with it.
Yeah, by the same logic, you wouldn't have pendant speakers over that same ceiling. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, like I said,
I don't know.
plus, I don't need
pendants
to. I don't need
have
to be
their
hit.
place.
I don't need to be hitting my head on lighting fixtures and speakers. So I got enough to worry about.
for new builds though, so is anybody coming across architects and designers using BIM? Because BIM is supposed to be that, BIM is supposed to be that thing where you're not looking at 400 different drawings. You can catch the conflicts digitally. You don't have to have those change orders. You're like, oh wait, the HVAC is here. Well, then I need to put lighting here, and
Yes.
therefore my projector goes here, right? BIM is supposed to be that kind of all trade digital footprint.
Bam. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think we're seeing it. And I want to give props to some architects. I know, and consultants a whole different issue, but architects. So I spoke at SCUP, the Society for something planning, right? And I spoke about AV and our needs. The first thing that happens after that was, will you now come and do our keynote, which I'm doing in 2 weeks at campus facilities, the same thing. The audience is facilities and architect people, because I said, look, they recognize that the world has changed. They're starting to recognize that, look, they don't, just as much as we don't like them designing spaces where our screens and projectors don't fit later, they also don't want us complaining at the last minute that now you have to make this work, right? And so I want to give props to the fact that they're now coming to me and going, wait, will you talk to our people more about this? Because we know it's an actual issue. And I think we have to recognize they're feeling that too on their side, just as much as we hate it. They're cursing why this is happening. So we have to come together. And I love that, Gina. Like, exactly. BIM is exactly that point, and how many people, maybe it's a change that we have to see. I was talking to Chi, my architect, today, because we're building a digital twin of USC. And I said, it's really easy if we have all the Revit models and we have the BIM. Well, we don't have that because we only have it for buildings that are, 7 years and newer. Anything that's older, we don't have that, right? And we only have the CAD drawings, and it's the CAD drawings as we think we know them, but, one room got kicked into this and this wall came down. So they're not even right, and maybe that's where we have to realize that we have to start from here and move forward. And then it comes to consultants, and consultants have to recognize this as well, right? And be able to not just plan and design off of where their kickback comes from, but actually design based on the space and the model that the user needs, right? And speaking of consultants, you know that Higher Ed AV is now has a consultancy wing. So if you are a listener and you are looking to, if you are in higher ed, please do reach out to higheredav.com in order for us to work as a liaison between you, your integrator, and your manufacturer partners. And as are the integrators who are listening and manufacturers who are listening, please reach out to higheredav.com because we can help you with your, you know, with all of your higher ed customers to become that liaison for you so that everybody has a successful project.
Joe, you
Well
sound,
said, Joe.
I was just going to type this, but you sound like the person, you know, at the end of where they tell you all the side effects.
Yes,
of medication.
He's a
Make-
Just
pro.
got
Make
faster and faster.
May cause a love for higher ed. Just like,
Yeah.
So Joe, I would say, recovered himself there, and he brought up a key point of partnership. We are now past the time of silos and stay in your lane. We need to work all together, not just your AV, your networking, your database, your infrastructure team, but also your facilities team, also your academic team, your scheduling team. Everyone needs to work together.
Can't we all get along?
come together right now. We got a whole musical going here
Wait.
tonight.
So she went from Rodney King and
Musical.
you went to the Beatles.
I was
I
about
mean-
to sing I'd like to
Is
buy the
that
world a
shit-
Coke.
Okay, there you go. But that's pretty par for the course, maybe. At least for me. The music's always where it is. So, oh man, yeah. So I think so I agree, Joe. So with what you were saying about the architects and everything like that, we have our facilities team is starting to recognize the fact that we need to be brought in earlier and that there are things that need to be discussed ahead of time. Where it's a slow infiltration though, because it's like, well, we have one project manager who always reaches out to us. There's another one that sometimes reaches out to us. And then there's still a lot more that go, oh man, we got to talk to somebody about AV. It's after like, here's all the drawings, make it work. It's like, well, my favorite is when we have to put conduit in the wall and then the floor when they've already like laid out everything else. It's like, well, you need to move all these things. So, but yes, if it's digital, at least it's not too bad. So,
Fun times in AV.
oh yeah. So yeah. So speaking of fun times, I've been seeing some pictures and tweets of those who are over in Cedia. So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah. It's nice to see
Yeah,
that.
I'm
I
not
think it looks like it's a
familiar.
really, it looks like a really
FOMOing
good
that one.
turnout too. What is that?
Yeah, I'm FOMOing that one. I can't believe I'm
Right?
in Cedia. It's just way too much travel though. I had to pick one to not do, or I'd been gone.
I
for
was
way
gonna say
too
I'm
long.
actually surprised you're not there, Joe.
Me too.
Like, but yeah, you've been traveling a lot. So
I'm gonna hit my 50 shows.
Cedia's main focus is residential though, right?
Yes.
Well, it's kind of. So did you see the announcement today?
Commercial integrator.
Commercial
Yeah.
Integrator Expo, which so many commercial integrators are now going to Cedia because of that Resi-Mercial crossover, that they're now co-locating a new show called Commercial Integrator Expo with Cedia Expo because Emerald owns both. And so I think many more of us will
Doesn't
end up going to Cedia for the CIE part of it than ever before. So
Interesting.
I'll see you next year at Cedia.
Interesting.
The thing
I
is,
totally agree.
I brought this.
Totally agree.
I agree, because you look at it. What we talked about earlier with when Tim talking about the faculty members, they were at home. They're used to doing things. So we coming out of that where people are at home and you have offices in home. I mean, how many of us are sitting in our home offices probably right now on this Zoom call? So yes, you're going that line
Joe.
Resi, and yeah, Joe's on a boat. I'm in a car, but I'm sure everyone else is at a home office.
This is my home office. Yes.
Yeah, this is his home office.
But that's the thing, and that's another thing is, offices is everywhere now.
Mhm.
Not just a home, not just a office building, not just 4 walls. It could be a boat. It could be a coffee house. It could be a car. It could be a soccer field. It could be the beach. But they still need AV.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I have it right here. Dan Fursey had replied to Daily Do, and he said that with doing the co-location is that the rise of hybrid means the corporate vertical bridges home plus offices. So the EDU vertical now bridges home plus classrooms. So they're focusing on those specific areas: corporate, education, hospitality, retail, and then they're calling it resi-mercial. So
Resi Marshall. Mhm.
Yeah, and so I don't know if you've any of you are in the hospitality world, but our company is in the hospitality world, and we've noticed that the majority of integrators in retail, bars, and restaurants are actually crossovers from home theater, not commercial integrators,
Mhm.
right? So the commercial
That is-
integrators, they'll do healthcare, higher ed, K-12, corporate, financial, government, SLED, that stuff, right? But the hospitality, they're the ones that get high-end music. They're the ones that get experience. They're the ones that really understand individual user experience. And
Yes.
so they're the ones who are doing bars, restaurants, hotels, music venues, smaller music venues, not like arenas and stadiums and things. So there's a lot of applicability to that commercial space, but the resi people, the resi-mercial people, that crossover, they really own it.
You know, so it's interesting, Gene. I want to ask you something, because that was brilliant. That's why you're the smartest person in AV. But
I'm
so
not.
the thing is, oh,
Of course.
absolutely. But here's the thing. Do you think that's because, like, hospitality is always about customer and entertainment is about customer experience, and commercial AV, and this is what I see the difference from moving from live entertainment to higher ed / commercial, right? And we are much more concerned about cable pulls and control rather than the customer and what they are experiencing. And hospitality is always about that. I mean, like I've always said in my entire career, if someone walks in, gives me a resume, and it says that they've been a bartender for 20 years, they're hired. I don't care if they know a single thing, because I know they're going to be the best customer experience ever, because they understand that, right?
Yep.
And is that why that side is coming in from hospital? I don't know. And we, now that I'm on the commercial side, suck at that, because we look at control first and little black boxes and racks first.
I think there's a lot to be said for that, for sure. There's an understanding of creating environments that are memorable. Word of mouth is huge in any hospitality venue, right? I mean, word of mouth is huge. So you need a memorable experience. You need, and Yelp is everybody's worst nightmare or best friend. So you need something that's going to bring people back. And that is so very personal, and it's so very curated. So if I want to go out and I want a high energy place, I can find for like a girls' night out, and my girlfriends and I, and we want to go have fun, and we want to move, and we want to dance, and we want to explore, like, you know, whatever environment, we know where to go for that. But if I'm going out on a date, which I don't, because I don't have time, I don't want to go to that same place. So I can find a different venue for that. You don't do that necessarily in education. You don't do that in healthcare. You don't do that in corporate. You don't create an environment like that. That's so insanely personal. So I don't know. I think that's probably where it comes from.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Like that personal touch, and that's the difference, right? Yeah, and that's I see. No, because I struggle with that when I have my staff, and I try to take principles that I had from live entertainment, owning bars, stuff like that, and trying to put that into our customer service. It makes a little bit of sense, but our industry, our side is so into the design and the line drawings that we don't like, and so are we missing? So going back to the whole CEDIA thing and the Commercial Integrator Expo, which I think is going to be great. I mean, you want to talk about a good mix there. I think that's
Right.
very smart, very well done. Which of course, right, doesn't Avix owns half of CEDIA too, right?
No, so this is the interesting thing. Emerald owns CEDIA Expo. Emerald owns Commercial Integrator Expo now. ISE is half owned
ISC,
by
yeah,
CEDIA
that's right. Wrong
and
one.
Avixa.
Yeah, that's right.
Basically, what Emeralds did was create ISE in the United States.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Well
done. Well done.
Okay.
That's let's just say that's a great move. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
All right,
No,
so I
and
gotta go.
think
So
it's
I gotta
good.
go to CEDIA. So now I gotta go to CEDIA next year. So
And it's in what, Denver or something? Is that what they said? Somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
Yep.
Denver.
oh, even better. Denver, October in Denver. That's great.
No one has ever put the word
Or
Denver
September.
and better in the same sentence.
Denver's a
Wow.
good city. Denver's a good
Yeah.
city. Our folks from Mercive are out there, so that you know.
As long as
so
you
they-
like
they're-
beer. If you're a wine drinker like me,
I'll see it. I'll be just
Lots of
fine out
breweries.
there.
California's hard to beat.
Lots of breweries.
Mhm. So you want to sneak a
Yeah.
fun fact? So here's the thing. Let me tell you about a grudge I've been holding for 25 years against the French.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Against the
Bring
French?
it. Bring
Against
it.
the French.
I know, totally random. So when I graduated, well, Nancy brought up wine, okay, and then California. So after I graduated from USC, so 1995, a bunch of us went to Europe, and we did the ultimate European trip. We started in London. We bought our little Volkswagen bus, and we drove through all of Europe, and we just jumped all the countries. And then when we were in Paris, we did what everyone needs to do, and that is, of course, sit at a little cafe, order some wine, and right in front of the Eiffel Tower, right? So we did that, and we sit down, and we said, okay, to the waiter, please bring us your best bottle. This was the one stop we were going to splurge. We were just out of college. Your best bottle of imported wine. I don't know why we asked for imported wine while we were in France, but we did. And they brought us a bottle of Ernest and Julio and charged us $65 for it.
Wow.
Okay.
Of course they did.
65
And this
bucks
is
in
the
They were
90s.
sticking it
1995
to
is
you
a
for
lot of
going for
money.
import.
Oh,
Sacre
But-
bleu.
but here's the thing. So now, as of the last year, so I've been in Europe, I think 4 times now in the last 12 months. Okay. And and also Spain, Portugal, everywhere we've gone, everywhere. And we keep ordering wine, and everywhere we go, everyone tells us that California wines are the best. Like, they keep saying, you're not going to like this because you live in the best places. And even we went to, the little corner where Portugal and Spain and France all kind of come over there in that area. And all of that's because they're where the best wines come, but they're California seeds that are actually grown there. And they will say, you won't like this because you have the best wines. And so now I feel like maybe they weren't
they were sincere?
actually playing a joke on me and us. Maybe they
Ernest.
actually thought they were bringing great wine.
I wouldn't even cook with that, Joe. Not the Ernest.
So there you go.
Gosh.
That's yeah. I
Quite a
guess it's
story.
all about perspective.
Yeah.
for
That's not
sure.
quite an AV nightmare, but it's a wine nightmare.
It's a wine nightmare.
That is a wine nightmare.
Yeah. There's been some drinking done here on the AV Life over the years. So yeah. I had my
Cheers
diet.
to that.
I had my Diet
Pacifico.
Coke and Malibu. So
Water for me
All right.
tonight.
so you're the designated podcast
Designated
host.
driver.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to get back from Europe and get myself
Ooh.
Yes.
back.
I got back
Hey,
Monday night.
So
Renee,
since
and
we're talking,
I
yeah,
still
since
got
we're
jet
talking
lag.
travel, yeah.
It's
It's
jet
So
lag is a
real quick
thing.
because we're getting towards the end.
Oh.
Renee, Nancy, how were your trips?
Fantastic. You know,
Fantastic.
I had a quick layover in London, and growing up Canadian and every day singing and facing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth and singing God Save the Queen. I had to stop to
Yeah.
go and to see the flowers. I mean, to see it all, it was very emotional. I wish she could look down and see how she affected so many people around the world. So I did that, and then toured a little bit of Italy, and that was phenomenal. It just so beautiful, so cheap.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, for meals and for drinks and things, and the people are so friendly, and it was just phenomenal. So
Well,
Dollars
I didn't
love
experience the
Ireland.
friendly people in Paris, but they were a little off. But I mean, I didn't care. I was so happy to be there. But we just spent the week mostly in Paris, and then we spent one day running up to Normandy and seeing the Omaha beach and well, all five of the beaches. But yeah, spending a day doing that. So that was, talk about emotional. I mean, there wasn't one day that passed that I wasn't crying. Like you're walking across a bridge that was built in 1706, and we're just walking, drinking our champagne, looking at the Eiffel Tower. It's just like, no, what am I doing? It's just so bizarre. But you go to an old building here or an old part of somewhere in the South or whatever, and it's like it doesn't have anything in comparison to what I saw over there with their architecture and statues, and going to the Louvre for a day and just going, okay, I'm staring at the Mona Lisa. I'm 10 feet from the Mona Lisa. Like just like an outer body experience. Like, I can't believe I was really there. So
but
it's just,
don't you find, Renee, think about it, our current technology now into those massive churches and
oh yeah,
buildings and the finite details, they didn't have any of
unbelievable.
that.
No,
That is, like, I think what you said is, it blows your
yeah,
mind.
yeah. So I mean, I just was like, okay, so who laid on their back and painted this mural for 4 million hours? Because it was just, yeah, it just freaks me out. But
Yeah.
overwhelming. It was overwhelming. It was very emotional. Yeah, I'll never, ever forget that. So it was a great trip.
That's
That's
wonderful.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, you think about it like, yeah, so an old house here in like the United States was like, if it happens
Yeah.
to still be standing from 1776, it's like that's an old house,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
out there, that, like you said, like there's a bridge from the
Yeah.
the 17th century that's still
Yeah.
like has full vehicular traffic
Yeah.
on top of it. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy.
we
It's
have
crazy.
bridges here. The George Washington Bridge has been constantly worked on for the last like 30 years. So, it's like
They just don't make them like things anymore like they used to.
No, they don't.
Is my sunset coming across on the video as beautiful it is right now?
It
This
It is.
crazy.
It looks pretty
Gorgeous.
awesome. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's
And you know what?
amazing.
The greatest part of the whole thing, Joe, is I can't see your face right now.
Oh,
Oh,
Wow.
the wedding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Always such
yeah, I
love on
went
the
there.
AV
I
life.
went there. I went there.
Wow.
See, it's been a while, Joe. I had a lot of catching up to do. So,
No, I see that. I see.
Rude.
Wow. Wow.
all out of love,
it-
Joe. All out of love.
I know it is.
That's so
That's okay.
funny.
That's
It's
okay.
kind of
You don't
funny
get
because-
you don't get as many listeners as I do, but that's okay.
Oh.
Well, we're working on that. We're working on that.
Oh,
We had a dive. We're working back. It's
All good times. I love you.
Oh,
Tim.
good. Yeah. Oh, hey, I love you too, Joe.
Oh.
And so I have to tell you randomly, Joe, one of the guys I work with listens to Higher Ed AV podcast, and he goes, Tim, I didn't know you were on a podcast. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I was like, I have my own, and I've been on Joe's a bunch. And he goes, really? And I'm like, it's like, yeah. I'm like, I've only worked with you for 7 years. I'm like, how did you not like know this? Like, but
he woke up.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's just funny. So, but good. He's a good dude. So I can't get too mad at him. So
Man.
yeah.
Well, you know what?
So-
So what you have to say with your profs and everything like that is, when you're facing all that, you just smile and say, celebrate the differences.
Mm.
And just say, just celebrate differences. And that's when I was working at Microsoft and we did a retreat. They had a comedian come in and she was talking about business and things like that. And that has always stuck with me. You just smile and go, celebrate the differences.
Mhm.
It'll get you through.
Yeah.
That kind of like bless your heart.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Oh,
Sure.
honey. Oh,
Bless your-
honey.
I love that, Renee. Yes. I heard that. Bless your
There was a
heart.
whole there was a whole How I Met Your Mother thing. I'd seen that, like, they were talking about like a girl who wasn't quite getting it, and like she was like saying like kind of stupid things, and instead of that it was a, oh honey, like, oh, it's like, oh bless your heart, you don't know
Yeah.
really what you're talking about. Yeah.
Sugar.
Well, I have a quick one for you. I just remembered. So a friend, she taught science in Pleasanton here in high school. And she told me that they had a code phrase of for parents when they came into the conferences and things. And then when the parents were trying to say, hey, you need to give my child a better mark, or hey, you need to do this and that, they would look and go, good for you, which was more or less go F yourself. And she said that they would do that. They would just smile at the parents, and the parents thought that they were saying that the teacher was saying something nice to them, and it was like, good for you. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
Okay.
It's funny.
Luckily, I never had anybody say that to me. So,
Mhm.
but
All right. Well, I
Probably
see
had teachers that wanna say that.
Joe is trying to dock his boat, and
Yeah, I'm going
we
to.
are-
I'm docking at the jacuzzi. So.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
All right. Well,
What?
we'll let Joe get to the jacuzzi, and
Well, no, I'll
we're gonna
finish the show. I'm just pulling up.
no. Well, I was about to wrap things up. Give me the moment to like bring this all together here. So
Well, I haven't. Did I just like totally go into your fishing area?
No.
oh,
I
good
just
job, Joe.
Here, by the way, we
You're
are in
in
a
all the
live
areas.
podcast recording. Please introduce yourselves. How you doing? How's it going? These are the Fisher guys that I just
Hello, Fisher
totally
guys.
ran my boat
Hi,
into their
fisherman.
Fisher line. What's the podcast? It is the high. It
Nope.
is the AV Life podcast.
There you go.
AV Life. This is the
audiovisual.
#1 podcast for the entire AV audiovisual industry, global podcast that has been around for many hundreds of episodes. You need a printer. There we go. See, I bring cameos with me.
You bring cameos, yes.
Oh my.
How's
Well,
it
there
going,
you
brother?
go.
We better go before we get in trouble.
Oh yeah, I think we're gonna do that, and we're gonna mute Joe, and we're gonna let him do his whatever he's doing with his fellow lake people. So Gina, thank you so very much for joining us tonight. A pleasure as always.
with a wealth of information.
Oh.
Yes. This is, and again, you are like the smartest person in AV. So
Yeah.
I agree with Joe on that.
Shortest and smartest.
She is going to be busy, one busy girl. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, I know. I wish you well on all
Having
your
you.
traveling over the next
Yeah.
month.
Yeah, it'll be fun, but I totally appreciate you having me. Every single time I learn something new, I get to talk and laugh and smile with my AV friends, and that's what this is all about. So what, you're busy. If you're busy but you enjoy the people that you work with, that's the most important thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all
Agreed.
about that environment. So
I
all
agree.
right. Well, and thanks to Joe Way. I know I muted him, but he's currently tying up his boat, so I'm going to let him do that. Thank you to my crew. Unfortunately, James had some connectivity issues, so he had to drop off. But thanks for listening, everybody. And keep in touch. And until our next adventure.